In this video, we're going to be having a look at the new Kingdom Hearts from Diamond Select. This is the Action Figures Series 2, Aqua and Goofy. Birth by Sleep, Aqua comes included with the Rainfell Keyblade, while Goofy comes included. Sadly, he doesn't come with any other accessories than what you're currently seeing. Just before we get the lowdown on these figures, let's figure out how tall they stand. First, let's have a look at Aqua. She stands at 6 inches in height. Then we skedaddle our way over to Goofy. Gosh, Goofy stands, if you count the top of his helmet, he's about a 7-inch tall figure. If you were to remove that, which you sadly can't, the figure stands at about 5.5 inches. Accessories for this outing are generally pretty light. In fact, the only accessory is the one that I'm currently holding in my hand, to which Aqua can hold in her hand. This is the Rainfell Keyblade. A pretty nice representation of the Keyblade itself. It has a faux chain on the very end, although it is looped with a real functioning metal ringlet. While it is nicely sculpted, it is generally on the soft side. This is a little bit thicker, but for some strange reason, this part, the handle area here, is of a softer variety. I worry that, especially right here, it's going to develop some stress marks if this is being bent back and forth. The rest of it is generally pretty thick on plastic. Well, as thick could be for looking this shape and this size. But this worries me a little bit how soft that feels. You can take it and put it into her hand, although it doesn't really fit so much in her hand. I always suspected that the Keyblades fit by handle, and yet the handle sadly sits a little too loose on her hand. A solution to that is you can certainly hold it from the side, which she holds a little bit better. That carries over its way to this hand as well, the exact same sort of problem. Again, if you hold it from the interior, which I thought that's how they hold their Keyblades, it just sits way too loose. There's just not enough holding onto it. You kind of have to hold it from the side instead. And even then, when she does hold it, doesn't hold it very well. It just sits really loose, looser than I would really hope. Put that to the side. Just by the way, at the beginning of this review, you probably saw a couple of black display stands. Yeah, I included those. Those weren't part of the figure set. You're really only getting the 2 figures, and then you get in the Rainfell Keyblade. So having a look at the figures, actually, you know what we'll do is we'll start with the tag-along, the Disney representation here. Here is Goofy. And you know what? I have to admit, Goofy is looking really good here. Part of me keeps wanting to open up his mouth. It seems almost as if there's a hingeable mouth here, but that doesn't seem to be the case at all. There's a little slot on the side, a little line, indicating it's a separate piece, but no, you can't open and close the mouth. Head sculpt is really good. Love the look of Goofy here. Very armored up Goofy, I might add as well. Painted in generally an orange paint on the plastic, and it has some really nice decorative details here around the waist portion. Of course, the armor that's on his shoulder, and the armor on the side of his arm. While this arm generally stays pretty much sans armor, more Goofy than anything else. But I do really like the head sculpt. That is one outstanding looking head sculpt. Really would love to see, I don't know what the licensing is, but Diamond Select doing just Disney figures for really this being the example of what they've been able to do so far. I would love to see them just really handle a Disney property. But in the meantime, we can certainly relish in what fine work they've done here on all the kind of assisting colleagues that come along with the main characters from Kingdom Hearts. So I really do quite like Goofy here. This metallic blue definitely shines quite well, and several different shades of blue as well. You've got the darker blue here, and a more lighter, almost silver blue, making up these little gauntlet plates, and the areas around, like I said, his belt area here. His posability is a little on the limited side, sadly. His arms being very long, spindly arms. For starters, he doesn't have any elbow articulation. You can pretty much rule that right out. He does have wrist articulation, however, and his arms do hinge out, but they don't hinge far enough down. They only really go to about there. It's a sort of a case where you have to, there's the hinge right there, so depending on where that is, will dictate where exactly you can move the arm. Like currently that hinge is, I don't know if you can see it, it's right at the top, so I can move the arm forward and back. But if I want to move it down, I have to kind of angle the arm down, which does end up making his elbow look a little on the bent side. We want to just turn that the other way there. There we go. But that's about as far down as you can get them. He does, of course, have head articulation. His head rotates all the way around. Being that this is also a ball joint, you do also get the slight angle tilt back and forth on the head. Does have a waist swivel. He has these splits on the legs, which I've noticed on these legs to be extremely stiff. Even playing with this figure for the last 10-15 minutes or so, I've noticed that the legs just do not want to give way. And the last thing I want them to do is give way in the braking sort of way. But take my word for it though, the legs, there is a cut right there. The legs should hinge out. It's just really stiff, and the last thing I definitely want to do is not break the figure. Legs very successfully, however, move forward. Equally successful, and almost even more successful, the legs hinge backward. And I really like this. It's really such a small feat, no pun intended, but he does have a good, sufficient amount of posability, a nice ball joint happening in the feet. I'm surprised with actually how much I can get going when it comes to him getting stepping. Goofy definitely has a lot of posability happening there. Now that could also be a sort of a hindrance to the figure as well, because if these do get loose, it will mean that the figure has a tougher time standing. So far, that's not so much the issue, but I guess if you want to have him more in a walking pose, that's probably when you want to make use of a display stand. As for Aqua, the main character in this set release, looks good. I will admit though that the face, the paint at the very least, looks a little on the muddy side. Now that may vary from figure to figure. In fact, actually the camera's doing an outstanding job of making it look better than it actually physically is in hand. It is a little, like I said, a little on the pasty, muddy side, the amount of paint that they put on the face. But I mean, that may be figure to figure. Your figure may look completely different. Liking the blue that they've incorporated in there as well. And more or rather a dark purple that they've added for the areas in between the hairs, just so that the hairs stand out. The bodice, as well as the kind of side skirting that she has here, is this nice metallic blue. In fact, it shares very similar colors to that of Goofy. No, obviously intentional as it is. She does have these little sleevelets, which I have to admit sadly does mean no elbow articulation. You just can't simply bend the elbow. Kind of wish that they put like a little hinge there, because really it only means that she's able to do her arms like this. And of course forward and back, and she does have the swivel in the hands, but I really would have loved some extra little mileage by being able to bend at the elbow. She's a very thinner looking figure, but again, like all the right cues, she definitely does look like she does in the game itself. She does have the same sort of, it's not quite a ball joint, so it's almost even misleading. It's a hinge joint, unfortunately covered with some additional silver that made its way past the point of the mold into areas that shouldn't really be there. But it does sort of limit, it, at the very least, visibility to see that that is in fact not a ball joint, but instead it is a hinge joint. The foot appears to rotate back and forth and hinging up and down, but be cautious. You don't want to start hinging, tilting the foot back and forth, because it definitely is, my friends, not a ball joint. It's a hinge joint. Paint, like I said, is for the most part pretty good. The areas around the eyes, especially the face in general, is a little on the muddy side. You do get some carryovers of paint, basically from like the collar up. It's all the areas in which paint went from one place to a different area that's a different color. That's when you start seeing like the silver's carrying over a little bit. The legs, I feel, could have used a little extra paint there on the thigh portion. But I do like the sculpt. I don't want that misinterpreted that I don't like the mold. I love the mold. I just feel like the paint could be a little bit cleaner. The skirt, by the way, is a separate piece. It's a little bit, not quite a soft plastic, but certainly is not a rigid, dense plastic either. Posability on Aqua, her head rotates all the way around. Hinges up and down. The shoulders, like I'd mentioned, do hinge outward. You get about there. I guess you could technically move it a little bit. Yeah, you can move it a little bit higher as well. Just gotta be a little bit careful when you are doing that. Arms rotate all the way around. She has a swivel in the wrists. She has a swivel in the waist. And leg-wise, little on the more limited side, just because this sits down. This sits low past, almost past the point of knees, really. So that's about all you can really do with the legs. However, to be fair, that the legs do move forward. They kind of obvious reasons, they have a stopping point where they don't go any further back. She does have a bend in the knee, and as we've already discussed, it looks like she has a hinge pin joint pinning it to the lower foot, where you can rotate the foot around, and then hinging back and forth. They went this route instead of giving the route of giving what seems to be a ball joint on Goofy, maybe because his foot is a little bit bigger. It would warrant having the extra larger joint happening there. I feel like she could have pulled off a ball joint in the lower foot, but still nonetheless not a bad looking figure. I almost feel as if Goofy is the superior figure, the better looking sculpt and painted figure. Aqua's not bad, but I think that the paint makes slight mistakes here and there and takes away from what I think is a really good looking sculpt on her. Diamond Select expands on its Kingdom Hearts property by finally releasing a Series 2 line of figures. Wanted to start with Aqua and Goofy because just a big fan of Goofy myself. I really am happy with how these figures came out. Goofy, I really think, is the all-star win here. Not taking anything away necessarily from Aqua, I do like her sculpt, but I feel like the paint misses its mark slightly. Goofy is an outstanding release, and even makes me think more and more as I'm looking at these Kingdom Hearts releases, man, I'd love to see Diamond Select do just a Disney property. Just standalone Disney figures. Almost what they've done with the Muppets Select. I'd love to see them approach also a Disney Select, because clearly they know how to sculpt cartoon characters. The proof is in the pudding when we have a look at Goofy here. Both figures, like I said, it's nice that they're packaged together, whereas you're getting one main character from Kingdom Hearts, and then of course you're getting the companion to go along with her. Again, a really nice set to pick up. This here in Canada will set you back about $34.99, which is on par with usually what you would expect to pay for the Select line of figures. Of course, that price will change drastically when you get to places like the US, but either way, if you're interested in picking up this set for yourself, it's currently available now at comic book stores. Today we were having a look at the Diamond Select Kingdom Hearts. This was the action figure Series 2, Birth of Sleep, Aqua, and Goofy. If you guys haven't had a chance to hit that little subscribe button down below, what are you waiting for? You're missing out on a ton of videos that are coming to this channel on a regular basis. And while you're at it, make sure you swing by the main page after you're finished watching this review to scroll down the section of videos and see if there's anything that may have missed along the way. We're going to have a look at the other 2 packs from the Kingdom Hearts Series 2, probably in the next couple of reviews. So if you're fans of Kingdom Hearts, definitely want to stay tuned for those. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.